Now, I won't touch on many issues, but I would like, first of all, to talk about the sorry state of human rights in Singapore today. Do you all agree with this statement or not? Yes. Why? Don't know lah. No, I haven't. That's good enough, yeah. Correct lah. Yeah, it's, but if you agree that with this statement, then it's the fault ourselves or the government. Can we blame ourselves for this sorry state, or can we blame the government for this sorry state? Both ah. Oh, okay, 70%. Yeah, what to do? What to do? Today, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the General Assembly 68 years ago. Singapore then was just a colony of Britain. And of course, we will abide with what our colonial master had to say. They signed the declaration, and so as a colony, we are also bound by this Universal Declaration. But to cast back our mind to the history of that time, just 5 months before the declaration was signed, the British had introduced to us the Emergency Regulations Ordinance. That was in July 1948. Now, how could they sign the declaration and then ignore what they had given us? Shouldn't they have repealed the ordinance, the emergency regulations, when they signed the Universal Declaration? Should they or not? They should, right, if they honor their words. But they did not. However, what they did in Britain was different. They abolished the emergency regulations just before the end of the Second World War. And then, 3 or 4 years after they have abolished the emergency regulations in Britain, they introduced all the emergency regulations to the colonies, including Malaya and Singapore. So here we have the Internal Security Act, which is the follow-up of the emergency regulations. So what happened when the British introduced to us the emergency regulations? I think you know that soon after the regulations were introduced, thousands of people were arrested, hauled up before the police station, arrested, detained, and many of them were also deported or exiled to other countries. They call countries of their own, their homeland. Then those who fought for the abolition of the emergency regulations were also troubled. For instance, when the emergency regulations were changed into the Preservation of Public Security Ordinance in 1955, the PAP itself opposed the introduction of this ordinance, and yet they continue when they were elected as the government. You will recall that in 1955-56, many of the PAP members were arrested, including the PAP Legislative Assemblyman Lim Chin Siong. So what happened in 1959 when the PAP came into power? One would have expected that they too, they would continue to oppose the detention without trial, but they did not. And in fact, when they did not, in 1963, just about 4 years after they came into power, they arrested even more people, including over 100 opposition leaders. And that, as you all recall, was Operation Cold Store. And that was the end of the opposition in Parliament in Singapore for us. Even until today, the opposition has not managed to regain its power. Now, what happened after 63? We joined Malaysia, right? And when we joined Malaysia, we got from them the Internal Security Act. And then when we are left with this Internal Security Act, which allows detention without trial. Then we also have, the PAP also give to us the Constitution of the Republic of Singapore. And in this Constitution, we have Part 4, which contains articles pertaining to fundamental liberties. However, in Part 12, these fundamental liberties were constrained with emergency powers and their power to enact emergency legislation. And that's how we retain the Internal Security Act. So this detention without trial continues. Now what can we do? What can we do with the detention without trial in our midst? Surely we are faced with a very huge problem. And, but then, do we just remain cool, ignore everything, and let it be? Surely not. I think most of us disagree that we should be detained without trial. Most of us want a better Singapore and a fairer Singapore, and therefore we would oppose the arbitrary detention, arbitrary arrest, indefinite detention without trial. Right or wrong? Yeah. So, you know, the government actually should respect the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They should respect it because, as Paul Tambaya said, we endorsed it in '65. We are a member of the United Nations. And so why it has refused to honor all these fundamental liberties, which we should have, is a question mark to me. And I think all of us should not give up this fight to regain these rights for ourselves. And if not, then if we don't fight, then we will continue to slide into a worse state of affair. So my plea to your view is that although we can do very little, but yet every individual effort counts. And so we have still to continue to fight for our human rights. And I'm glad that Marwah is holding this forum, this protest, because it will constantly remind us that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is not something that we should forget about. We should honor it. We should fight for our rights. Nobody, no government will give us rights on a silver platter. Nobody, and we have to fight for it. And if we gain some rights, we should fight to retain it. Otherwise, the government will take it back again. So we all have to be vigilant and take care of what we have, fight for our basic rights, which we still, up to today, do not have. Okay? Thank you.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Band Social Club. Hello, I'm City Boy, and I hope all of you will give me your support by subscribing to Band Social Club. Why? Because Band Social Club is a platform for ordinary folks like us, all of us, so that our voices can be heard. Yeah, we may not be well spoken, but we speak from our hearts. So let us all support YouTube channel Band Social Club. Thank you.